Hey everybody. Today I want to show you how to play sound effects in Flash documents. I've gone to freesound.org and I've selected a sound effect that I like. And I'm going to download that. I had to create an account and log in, but now I can download. And I'm going to jump over to Flash and create a new ActionScript 3 document. I want to import the sound effect file into my library so that I can work with it. File, import, import to library. Navigate to the sound file and click Open. And there are two different ways for us to play sound effect files in Flash. In the timeline, we can attach any sound effect to any keyframe. So I can select the keyframe, and with this keyframe selected in the Properties panel, there is a category of properties for sound. We can actually set our sound to a sound effect file from our library. And now in our timeline, when we look at that keyframe, we can see a waveform. In fact, if we were to extend the amount of frames after the keyframe, we can kind of see the entirety of that waveform. So I'm going to erase these extra frames and show you the other way to add sound effects. And I can select this frame and make it so that it doesn't play a sound effect. The other way for us to play sound effects in Flash is to use code, and it's actually quite easy. In our code, we're going to create a new instance of this sound effect. So in order for us to do that, this sound effect has to have a class name. So right-click on it and go to Properties. In the Properties dialog box here, we can actually choose the compression setting for the sound effect. So if the quality is being degraded, you can come in here and you can improve that. But under the ActionScript tab, we're going to want to click Export for ActionScript. Now we can give this particular asset a class name. So I'm going to give it a class name of Sound Effect. Actually, I'll give it a class name of Sound Effect 1. That way I could have multiple sound effects within a single library. So because this is a class name, it has to be capitalized, and there have to be no spaces in its name. So be sure that your class name meets those requirements. After you've given it a class name, hit OK. You'll get a warning saying that Flash couldn't find a class file for the Sound Effect 1 class, and that's okay because we just created it. So say OK. And now let's pull up the code for frame 1. In here, we can instantiate a new instance of that asset by saying new sound effect 1. And while this does create a new sound effect, it doesn't play the sound effect. It simply exists in memory. So what I want to do is be able to access a method of this sound effect object, and that method is the play method. So I'm going to first store this object in a variable. So I'll say var sound equals new sound effect 1. Now one thing you should do when declaring variables in Flash is you should declare their data type. And the data type is just the class name of whatever this variable can store. So this variable is going to be storing a sound effect 1 object. So the data type of the variable should be sound effect 1. So variable name colon sound effect 1. Now we have a variable. That variable is sound and it refers to this object. We can say sound.play. To make our project a little bit more interactive here, I'm going to make it so that it plays this sound effect whenever we click. So I will say stage.addEventListener. And we'll be listening for the mouse down event. That event is fired whenever someone pushes down on one of the mouse buttons. Okay, so I have my event listener set up and I have my event handler function. So I'm just going to take the code that creates a new instance of the sound effect and plays that sound effect, and we'll just pop that into our event handler function. Now, whenever someone clicks on the stage, or not clicks, whenever they push the mouse button down, it's going to call this function, which creates a new sound effect 1 object, and then it plays it. Let's go ahead and test it out. Okay, that's how you play a sound effect using code. If you want more information about any of these classes, I want to show you how you can find it. So again, I'm going to right click on this object and say properties, and I can see that I've given it a class name of sound effect 1. But this sound effect 1 is a subclass of the base class called sound. So that play method is actually defined in the sound class. The sound class exists in a package called flash.media. So if we want to look up the sound class, we have to know its package name. I want to show you how to look up that class. In the web browser, I'm going to do a search for AS3 API. AS3 is shorthand for ActionScript 3. I'll click the first link, and now I'm on Adobe's official ActionScript 3 reference. I want to look for the sound class, and it's probably down here in this enormous list of classes, but I know it's in the flash.media package. So if we can find the flash.media package, we can find the sound class more easily. So now down here, we're only looking at classes that exist inside of the flash.media package. Click on the sound class, and now we're on a page that shows us all of the properties and methods of that sound class. So for example, if you wanted to know how long that sound effect is in milliseconds, you could access its length property. Now there's not a whole lot of things you can do with a sound object, but I did want to show you how to use the API a little bit to find more information about the classes that you're working with. So I hope this video was helpful. Go create something cool.